So we got some more Republican Civil War stuff to talk about here, and this is getting juicy. I enjoy it. So in the Washington Post, Charlie Kirk delivers a warning to the RNC and sparks a backlash. So I find this amazing, man. The fact that a guy like Charlie Kirk can issue a warning to the RNC is amazing, right? That's like, you know, me issuing a warning to the DNC. They'd be like, what? Shut the fuck up. Like, who are you? We don't care about you. But look, the difference is the right actually welcomes their alternative media into the fray. Like, they're part of the club. People on the left, like, we are not part of fucking any club. And by the way, just to be fair, we don't want to be part of any club, right? But it would be good if we did a hostile fucking takeover of all these institutions of the Democratic Party and they actually abided, by the will of the people. So here, I got to give you some of the stuff in this is really interesting. Charlie Kirk, the 29-year-old political activist who leads Turning Point USA and a network of conservative affiliates, wrote with a warning. In a Monday email to the 168 members of the Republican National Committee, he told them that donors and activists would desert the party unless it changed. The result, he said, would be colossal failure in the 2024 presidential election. Quote, how do we plan to win in 2024 if you so boldly reject listening to the grassroots, our donors, and the biggest organizations and voices in the conservative movement? He asked in the message, which was obtained by the Washington Post. If ignored, we will have the most stunted and muted Republican Party in the history of the conservative movement, the likes of which we haven't seen in generations. All right, so, like, right off the bat here, what exactly do you want, though, Charlie? Like, when we make demands of the Democrats, we are super clear in what those demands are. We want you to fight for Medicare for all and free college and eliminating student loan debt and eliminating medical debt and a living wage and the PRO Act so we get more unions and ending the wars and ending the corruption. Like, we're super clear. What exactly, like, what are you angry about, Charlie? Like, the people who you're mad at are, like, exactly like you in every way in terms of their policy preferences. So, like, what is this? This is just, like, performative anger. The extraordinary message came in the midst of a bitter GOP leadership contest with incumbent RNC chair Ronna McDaniel seeking to beat back a challenge from Harmeet Dillon, an attorney and committee member from California who has been paid for legal consulting by former President Trump's Political Action Committee, among numerous clients. Kirk and his allies have vigorously promoted Dillon, hosting her on various media platforms and staging a straw poll at the recent Turning Point Summit in Phoenix. The email also deepened an internal GOP feud over the party's disappointing performance in last month's midterms, which competing factions blaming one another for why Republicans in key races came up short. Above all, the message showed how Kirk is squaring off with the GOP establishment. He is marshaling his well-resourced network of nonprofit groups, which gained popularity over the past 6 years with Trump's backing, but demonstrated mixed results in races last month. Many of Kirk's endorsed candidates lost. Foremost among them, Kari Lake, the GOP nominee for governor in Arizona. Dillon served as an attorney for Lake's campaign, traveling to Phoenix for the election. Kirk alerted the RNC members to a new initiative of his group's political arm, Turning Point Action, that would seek to pick off RNC members deemed disconnected with grassroots conservatives. Oh my God, this is glorious. They're like going to war with each other, and it's getting ugly, and it's literally over nothing. Charlie goes, you better do the things that we want you to do. Dude, the whole party was doing every single thing you wanted them to do in the last election, and you guys got your fucking cheeks clapped, bro. You guys got rocked. All of your candidates sucked. Like, Charlie Kirk endorses the more Trumpy candidates, and the more Trumpy candidates are the ones who got obliterated. Doug Mastriano got obliterated in Pennsylvania. Kari Lake in Arizona got obliterated. Blake Masters in Arizona got obliterated. The more non-Trumpy candidates, like, say, Kemp in Georgia, he won, and he won in a landslide. So, like, what do you want? You got what you wanted, and you lost, and now you're, like, blaming others for the loss and saying, you better listen to us and lose again. Like, what is this? Kirk alerted the RNC members to a new initiative of his group's political arm. We already talked about that one. He said the effort, called the Mount Vernon Project, will recruit leaders to serve on the RNC and at the state level who wish to better represent the grassroots. How do you want to better represent the grassroots? What policy change are you asking for? What do your candidates stand for that the other ones don't stand for? Is it stuff like, we need to audit the 2020 election even harder? Is it shit like that? The initiative, which was previously reported by Politico, is funded graciously by donors who are vocally disenchanted with the RNC's members, Kirk wrote. The project brings to the national stage a model of bare-knuckled politicking used by Turning Point in its home state of Arizona, where it has worked to purge GOP officials who stood in the way of Trump's efforts to reverse the outcome of the 2020 election. Now the focus is on the race for GOP chair, with Kirk saying at his group's weekend summit in Phoenix, Turning Point action might remove members of the RNC if they vote incorrectly. In delivering his warning Monday to RNC members, Kirk laid particular emphasis on his ties to donors. Quote, "In my position, I interact with more large donors than almost anyone in the movement." Oh, I love this. Oh my God, I love this so much. Like, he's bragging about being the most corrupt. Like, I got the most billionaire, decrepit assholes who are supporting me, and so you guys better listen, because these billionaire assholes are not going to fucking open up their wallets for you again. Oh, that's so glorious. And by the way, just, you know how I mentioned earlier, like, this is like me threatening the DNC? Well, now we know why Charlie Kirk feels like he has some sway. Because he's got big money behind him. That's why. And that does buy you sway and legitimacy in the political world. Whereas we make a point, a principled point of saying we don't want to have anything to do with fucking big donors. I get paid, Dylan in his mom's basement pays me $5 a month to run Secular Talk. I don't have fucking George Soros on speed dial. Like, this asshole probably has that, whatever the living Koch brothers name number is on speed dial. He advised the GOP members that donors would cut them off unless the party changed. Quote, "Change how?" Okay, notice we're so deep in the article, there hasn't been a single policy thing. There hasn't been a single, these conservatives are not as strongly in favor of building the wall, and we are. There's nothing of substance. Quote, "In recent weeks, I've spent countless hours on the phone with donors who have told me emphatically that they will not support the RNC in this presidential cycle if things do not change." Change how, Charlie? Can I get one policy thing that this is about? It's not, but that's the thing. It's not really about policy stuff. It's just a raw power game. He's like, I want me and the crazies I'm closest to get elected, not the crazies who are a little more distant to me. McDaniel rejected criticism of her stewardship of the party in a Wednesday interview with Fox News' Brian Kilmeade, arguing, quote, "This is Turning Point and Harmead trying to take over the RNC. Of Turning Point, she acknowledged, they do great conferences, but she said the group's broader impact is questionable. Quote, how many young voters did they register? How many youth voters turned out this cycle? How about the college kids in Arizona? Where are they headquartered, she asked. Kirk replied on Twitter, claiming that his group had logged more than 500,000 volunteer hours this past cycle and contacted more than 5 million voters, among other outreach. Well, guess what, Charlie? If you guys are doing this much hard work and you're still losing, then, I don't know, dog. Maybe it's time to go back to the drawing board and maybe step the fuck aside. Maybe you don't know what the fuck you're doing. To be fair to him, neither does Ronna McDaniel. She doesn't know what she's doing. Neither does Kevin McCarthy. None of these Republicans seem to know what the fuck they're doing because they all have the stench of Trump on them. But again, his main concern is like, don't get less crazy. Get more crazy. Dylan, for her part, criticized McDaniel's decision to go after Kirk's network. Quote, Turning Point USA is the leading conservative youth organization in America, exactly the kind of activists we rely on and need to motivate, she said in a statement to the Post. It's a puzzling campaign choice for Ronna to go out of her way to attack a large segment of our current and future grassroots volunteer and voting base. So I love this. So they, like, Charlie Kirk and his team starts the fight, and then this Ronna McDaniel lady responds, and then they do the thing where they're like, "Oh, how dare you, sir? You've stepped out of line." Okay, but maybe then you don't throw the first fucking punch. How about that? And again, I love how, like, you have the enthusiasm of the Turning Point USA, young people, they're going to get involved, and it's like, they're going to get involved to keep things exactly the fucking same as they are right now. We are deeply in favor of not changing. This is where right-wing politics gets you. This is what you end up doing. It's a movement. A movement for what? Nothing. The status quo. In a recent appearance with Dylan, Kirk praised her for taking on GOP leadership, saying, "This is a club, it's a cartel, it's a smoke-filled room, you are not supposed to ask questions." Charlie, you can't say Dickie McGee's acts about a smoke-filled room when you just bragged about your connection to big money donors. The big money donors built that smoke-filled back room. They are blowing the smoke from the cigars that fill up that smoke-filled back room with smoke. Some RNC members were irked by Kirk's approach, according to emails obtained by the Post. Jose Cunningham, an RNC member from D.C., wrote a Wednesday email to other committee members in which he addressed Dillon directly about Kirk's remarks, asking, Harmeet, you claim we're your friends and colleagues. Are you really okay with someone accusing us of being a cartel? Where are the smoke-filled rooms? Harmeet, I've never seen them. Oh, shut the fuck up. All you political assholes have your smoke-filled back rooms. All of you do when you're begging for money from some decrepit billionaire. I mean, all it is smoke-filled backroom stuff. Dillon has made similar comments, saying on Fox News earlier this month that the RNC operated like a corrupt-driven machine inside the Beltway. Emma Vaughn, a spokeswoman for McDaniel, said the chairwoman's decision to run for re-election reflected her backing within the party. Look, I enjoy this. Just fight. Keep fighting. Keep fighting. Do it endlessly. It brings a giant smile to my face. It's exactly what I want to see. Because for the longest time, it felt like all the infighting only happened on the left. Because for a long time it did. Like, the left would always be fucking slitting each other's throats and ripping out their esophaguses. It could be like the most minor political disagreement, and you'd have people like, I did this 3-hour fucking monologue on this, and it's like, okay, what are we doing here? Don't we have bigger fish to fry? What's going on here? But now the right is getting in on the fun. They're like, now we should do the narcissism of small differences thing. And actually, in their case, it's the narcissism of no differences. They're the same fucking people. But they're fighting. GOP members, Vaughn said, rallied around the chairwoman because of her unprecedented investments in the grassroots, election integrity, and minority communities, and for taking on big tech and the biased commission on presidential debates. The idea that the Republicans have taken on big tech at all is laughable. They are giant cucks to big tech. They like to virtue signal about, we don't have a free speech on our Facebook stuff, man. But then it's like, do you want to break up Facebook? No. Do you want to raise their taxes? No. Do you want to regulate them more? No. So what are we talking about here? McDaniel, quote, will continue speaking with each and every member about how the party can continue building upon our investments and make the necessary improvements to compete and win in 2024, Vaughn added in a statement. Turning Point Action's intervention into RNC races is part of an effort to respond to our people and donors who gave McDaniel a resounding vote of no confidence in our straw poll and work to restore the RNC to the grassroots. Look, I would, honestly, no matter what happens, it's going to be great because they're just going to keep fighting, but I would actually sort of love to see an alternate universe where Charlie Kirk gets exactly what he wants in every way, and the Republicans still get blown out by like 15 points. Because he thinks his ideas are popular. They're not. And by the way, I got some news for you. One of the reasons why his thing is even on the map is because of all the big money that he takes. And they do this whole, like, we're all about the young people. But I guarantee you, most of the people who would, like, watch Charlie Kirk's show or be involved are fucking, like, Fox News viewers, man. Geriatric assholes on Social Security. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm all about the youth. Turning Point USA is right up my alley. This is an attractive fucking Gen Z. Fuck out of here. I mean, I'm sure there's some, but the numbers, I'm sure, would be astonishing to people. Yeah, Charlie Kirk really has his finger on the pulse of the youth. Okay, where was I? Turning Point Actions, intervention, already covered that part. Evidently, that is troubling to many entrenched members of the committee who are comfortable losing. Ben Proto, a member from Connecticut, dismissed Turning Point's initiative in an email to fellow RNC members. Without identifying Kirk's group by name, he took aim at celebrities who claim to have the pulse of the voters, but who talk in an echo chamber to people who already agree with them. Guys, this is all of you assholes. Literally all of you assholes, man. This is what all of you do. We don't have to keep going. This is way too long of an article for such a fucking... But you could have written this article and said, right-wing assholes fight each other over absolutely no policy differences. That would have been the more accurate way to cover this. But yeah, it's just like that GIF that floats around Twitter from time to time says, let them fight.